Hi, and welcome to another episode. Today we're talking about getting a longer battery life out of any camera that you're using. Because the main factors that you can control are universal across cameras. It's more of an engineering bit. It's a common complaint among YouTubers, oh, this camera is great, but the battery life is not so much, and it seems like it's going to continue for a while. And while many suggest using external power and V mounts and all kinds of goodies, they're not always the answer when you need to keep your costs as low as possible, or you're starting out, or you want to be nimble. Because you add a power brick, and then you add this, and then you add that, and then you add what's not, and suddenly you have a really big camera that's going to attract potentially unwanted attention in a run and gun situation, like the way I mostly shoot in my downtime. Yeah, and most of these shoots are stuff that in places that I have access to without having to pay for locations or get a permit or stuff or something like that. Just a guy and a camera. Sometimes there are production days if you want to work for like 3-4 hours, then there's no substitute for external power, but there are things that you can do to get a little bit extra juice out of your camera. Now, the two factors that control your battery life is your bitrate and your lens electronics. And it's and the rest of how the camera is manufactured is, quite frankly, outside of your control. Now, the higher your bitrate, the more power it consumes. That's and that's because of all the effort that all the processing power that the camera has to do to write a higher bitrate fast enough to your memory cards will considerably consume more power than if you use a smaller bitrate file sizes. This also has its pros and cons. If you are giving away some of your bitrate, then you'll have less flexibility in color grading. But if you are just simply cutting editing clips together without coloring, then it's not as big as an issue. But the question is, you have to nail your white balance in colors in camera, because you won't have room to do that if you're working on a say, for example, a raw file or a 10-bits higher quality. You're not going to here's the thing, like an 8-bit file will use less power to write on the memory card than a 10-bit, and then for 16-bit. But the 8-bit won't give you any flexibilities to fix white balance issues without it going without it throwing away without throwing away your color balance overall, and creating artifacts that you didn't really want to see happening. So it's a bit of a trade-off, like everything in life. So you have to assess your needs. Do I really have to color? Or should I just accept that I'm only going to last this long and pack extra batteries? So the other factor that I would recommend is using a manual lens. Lens electronics, excuse me, we're back. So the other factor that I want to suggest is using a manual lens. Autofocus, stabilization, and all the other goodies, metadata and what's not, uses lots of power because you have to power through a physical motor to get autofocus, and then like whatever else the lens is doing to stabilize optically. And in many cases, you can go without. In professional settings like big sets and broadcast, you just don't have you don't have autofocus, and that's it. And you, for video in general, you want like focus manually. But if you're a vlogger or you're shooting handheld, then lens stabilization in particular is crucial. And I don't recommend going without lens stabilization if you're shooting handheld. But if you can use a shoulder leg or a tripod or a gimbal, then you would be better off using a manual lens to save you some more power to go through your actual shoot. Now, these two factors require you to trade off a significant chunk of features in order for you to get a lower power consumption level. That's because engineering is not magic, and it's like everything else in life. It's a game of trade-offs. Should I use this or that? Keeping that in mind, it's truly up to you to decide what are your needs for the shoots are. What you want to shoot on. Do you need to be nimble? Are you happy to pack extra batteries? Or just like accept that you can go without autofocus for a while. I myself don't use autofocus. I'm a happy manual lens user. But lots of people don't like that and don't want like work the way I work. But then again, until they make a real breakthrough in battery life and the whole engineering and chemistry that goes into it, we'll have to do some trade-offs. And even then in the future, we'll still have to do other trade-offs. So if you find this episode helpful or entertaining, please consider liking and press the like button and subscribe to this channel for more episodes, and I'll see you in the next episode.